Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. Everybody's working for the weekend. Taking care of business every day. Now it's wow, welcome to the working week.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Minimum wage.
So, how you ready for the holidays?
Getting there. You got your shopping done, or?
I'm just getting. Let me I forgot to introduce myself and you. I'm Jeff
Sure.
Turgeon. I am the executive director of the Central Mass Workforce Investment Board and host of the Working Lunch. And my co-host here is.
Sean McGall. Good afternoon, everybody.
What was that?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, you said it. You were like, "Good afternoon, everybody."
Too much radio voice.
Are you ready for this? Is the special holiday edition.
Yep. One of my favorite Working Lunch episodes. You know, I always like when we come into Studio B, pre-record, holiday feel to it. It's
You
always
know,
a nice time.
I could. Studio B has a nice feel to it. I really
Does.
do. Yeah. So, I should ask straight off the bat. So you're celebrating Christmas?
Christmas.
You're okay.
How about yourself?
Yes, as well. And so, any Christmas traditions that you do?
Nothing really. I mean, every year I try and get my wife to do a fake Christmas tree, and every year we get a real Christmas tree, and it's a pain. But that's no
Everyone that
real
way.
fun traditions or anything. I mean, a lot of time with family and everything.
I was gonna say. I mean, you don't always go to your mom's or your moms. Or,
We usually go to my parents and Sarah's parents, and then
what's for
some
dinner?
of her
What
extended
do you guys
family
have
as
for
well.
dinner?
This year we're gonna have prime rib. Yeah. What about the Turgeons? Any special?
No, I'm not gonna be really doing much. I mean, it's you know, that's cool. That's cool. You get prime rib. I never really had prime rib. I don't know what that.
Would you like to come to our?
Hey, really? You mean it?
Bring the kids. Bring them all over. Yeah.
Hey, kids, come prime
Open
rib.
invite.
I don't know why I find that so funny, but thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
No, we do we go to our my mother and father-in-laws, and they do a wonderful spread.
Yep.
Nana and Papa's.
All the fixins.
This show brought to you by Nana and Papa for all your fixing needs, all your turkey needs. So okay, we're gonna. You know what? We've got a great show lined up.
Yep.
And so why don't we get to it? You're actually
Sure.
going to be bowing out
Yep.
so I can do an interview. I'm going to bring in Miss Dalene McClintock, and she is the coordinator for the Career Pathways in Healthcare program at the Quinsigamond Community College's Adult Community Learning Center, and that's down there in the OTG. Dalene, why don't you come on over and sit down? And you're actually going to, you'll be speaking into that microphone there. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I'm very happy to be here.
And we were talking a bit before the show, and we have some mutual connections. It's like
Yes.
always a couple few degrees away. We find some connections there. So thank you. I'm excited to hear about the program that you're offering down there. One of the things that as a workforce board, you know, we always recognize is that language and career training is, you know, key to having a strong workforce, especially, you know, as a gateway city. We have a lot of people coming to our area with English as a second language. So having programs that are out there that can help them transition to our areas is important. So tell us about the program.
The program, as you said, is called Career Pathways for Healthcare, and it's designed mostly for English speakers of other languages who are speaking, reading, and writing at an intermediate level. It's 4 days a week, 17 hours a week, 8:30 in the morning until 12:30 in the afternoon, and then on Thursdays, 12:30 to 1:30, they have
So a pretty
some
intensive
commuter
program
training.
for folks.
It is.
And so is there a minimum level people need to come in with?
Intermediate, they need to be speaking, reading, and writing at an intermediate level. They don't have to worry whether or not, you know, what their level is,
Yeah.
because we assess that.
Okay.
So-
In general terms, how would you describe that? Is that like they could read a children's book at that point, or do you know what I mean? They can talk a little bit, or how would that kind of look like?
It would be someone who you can understand as English as a first language speaker fairly easily, and they wouldn't need to be asking you to repeat a number of things or looking at you quizzically when you're speaking to them in this the speed that we normally speak English. And then, reading and writing, they would understand, maybe something at the 7th or 8th grade level in our, in English.
And by the end of the 12 weeks, how far are they able to get to?
The focus of the program is to teach them, well, first of all, right now it's scheduled on Tuesdays. They have training as a personal care aide, and that is the focus, to employ them ultimately, or to help them find employment as a personal care aide. And so the vocabulary that they would be learning, it's a contextualized curriculum, and they would be learning medical vocabulary. And we don't say that they're learning medical terminology because that is a very specific high-level course. But we tell them that they would be learning medical vocabulary that any well-informed consumer would need to know to go to appointments, participate in their own medical care.
So so if someone has an interest in healthcare,
Yes.
and this is a way for them to learn the healthcare stuff while also learning it in an environment with an English support. So it's kind of the two go hand in hand for them.
Absolutely. English, as you know, is not one of the easiest languages, and many language learners find it confusing. So we're there to demystify English, and then, as I said, to take them to that next step with medical vocabulary.
Okay, and the classes are free for participants?
They are free. The books that we use are free for them, and we do have a class that's starting in January. We do not have an exact start date. It will be near the end of January, but we're hoping to get enough students to fill the class, which would be about 15 students.
Great.
And it's 12 weeks.
So how do folks get in contact with you about more information about the program, getting involved in the program?
They can either call or email, and my email address is dmcclintock.
And that's DMCCLINTOCK.
Correct.
And that's at qcc.mass.edu.
Yes.
I actually have that written right here in front of me. I didn't memorize that. That's
Oh,
written right
good.
here in front of me.
It's rather long, but I believe that right now that would be the best way to contact us, because the program and the instructors are on winter break right now, and so and will be through the 7th of January. But I will be monitoring my email, and I would love to hear from people that are interested.
So I imagine that the class gets pretty close with each other. I mean, you're spending a lot of time together. They're in a learning environment. It must be a pretty fun dynamic to be in the classroom.
Absolutely. This is the third year for the class and the program, and the students are always wonderful. They're so appreciative of what they learn, and it is just a wonderful group of students, and they do become very close. Many of them stay in touch after the class ends.
Where do they go after that? Where would they go to work, or what's some things that they go into after they leave the program?
This year, for the first semester, we have students that are going on to a couple of programs within our building, and we're located in the new Quinsigamond Community College Healthcare and Workforce Development Building.
That's the old T&G building for people that are familiar with Worcester.
Absolutely, the old T&G building.
A beautiful new center. I took a walk through there the other day. Just absolutely gorgeous. They did a great job rehabilitating that building.
It is. It's beautiful, and one of the things that we like about being there, because we moved from Grove Street, we like the fact that there are opportunities for our students to see the other healthcare programs, the tuition-based and credit-based programs. The Career Pathways program is non-credit, non-tuition based.
And that's funded through the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
We help coordinate some of those programming
Yes.
because it is aligned with workforce efforts. So it's great to, you know, we're all kind of pushing in the same direction with the need locally. And obviously, we have a very large healthcare sector in central Massachusetts. So it's great that these folks have, you know, a lot of job opportunities when they finish. It sounds like a lot of them go on to further training with you.
They do. We have someone now who's going on to take a medical interpreting course. She speaks Arabic as her first language.
Wow.
And so she wanted to do that afterward. She can, if she wishes. They all took their PCA exam last Saturday and passed, so they will have that certification. And what they can do is work part-time as a PCA and then go to school.
Sure.
So
it's a real foot in the door for them.
you know, it's
and they
funny.
can go on and do other things, could climb up that career ladder. They're not kind of stuck there necessarily. So.
Absolutely, and that's the idiom that we had talked of, one of the most important idioms, foot in the door.
Yeah.
And, you know.
So that's funny you say that, because when you say idiom, so in other words, we take that for granted that we know what that means.
Right.
When you say, oh, put your foot in it, they, you know, that expression to them, that idiom, if you will, is new to them.
It is new
It's kind
to
of an
them.
interesting thought. Right?
So that was our mantra, really, when we started talking about PCA with them. This is a foot in the door, and if it's not something that you feel that you want to do for your whole life, well, you can start out and then build on that. And that's why we're called career pathways, because it is a pathway to other medical careers.
Yeah, well, that's great. So we're speaking with Dalene McClintock, who's the coordinator for the Career Pathways and Healthcare program offered through Quinsigamond Community College's Adult Community Learning Center, and that's down on Federal Street, which is the backside of the Franklin Street, that building, the old T&G
Correct.
building, that borders both. So,
Yes.
And again, people can get in touch with you about more information about the program at dmcclintock@qcc.mass.edu. So that's dmcclintock@qcc.mass.edu. Dalene, thank you so much for being on our show. Before you leave, we have a little game we play with everybody, and
Right.
winners are able to get this fine mug,
Lovely.
courtesy of Penta Marketing. And so, but you have to earn it. We don't
Okay.
just give these things away.
All right.
Valuable. Okay. McClintock, is that Scottish or Irish?
Actually, it is Scottish.
It is Scottish.
Mhm.
But it's unusual, isn't the spelling unusual for a Scottish name?
It is, because normally there's only one C
And it'd be
and
an
a capital L. Mhm.
Right, and it'd be an like Mac
It
versus
could be.
Mick.
It could be,
right?
but there is an MC capital L
Ah,
spelling as
see
well.
that. Well, I think it might be one of your former compatriots through lineage, Matthew McConaughey.
I recognize that.
Do I say McConaughey? Did I say that's kind of strange. All right. So you know who he is?
I do.
He's a fairly famous actor.
Mhm.
A lot of people say Sean looks like him, as a matter of
I
fact.
get that all the time.
Gets that all the time. All right. I'm going to give you 3 jobs that he may or may not have done when he was younger. One of his first jobs, as a matter of fact. I want you to tell me which one is the real one. Was Matthew McConaughey a chicken coop cleaner, an ice house attendant, or a surf instructor? 3 very different jobs. What do you think? Which one was the real
I
one?
believe he was from Texas, so that the chicken, even though I do not know, and I think this might have been on E! News at some point, but probably one I didn't watch. And so, since he's from Texas, I'm going to say chicken coop cleaner.
Wow! Well, I love the logic, and you are correct. He was a chicken coop cleaner. Sean, did you want to do the impersonation
I
of?
was hoping you would, actually.
All right. That's about all I got. Thank you so much, Ms. Dalene McClintock, the coordinator of the Healthcare Pathways Program for Quinsigamond Community College. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Jeff, thank you
And
so
you get
much.
to take the mug.
Lovely.
It's a little holiday gift. Santa comes early here.
I might re-gift this.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're actually going to take a little break right now. We're going to come back with more of the Working Lunch. Okay, we're back on the Working Lunch. special holiday edition, and we have a special guest in the studio, Miss Grace Ross. She is the former gubernatorial candidate here in Massachusetts, and a longtime Worcester resident. Born and raised?
No.
Not born and raised. Longtime Worcester resident, and also founder and co-leader of the Grace team, and working now on a special project, the Unemployment Project.
Yep.
And so wanted to have you on here. We saw been to a couple of your events.
Yep.
And I've seen some
Folks
really
may know
interesting statistics that you've brought forth, and some data that you've researched and analyzed. Recently saw a report that you had issued.
Right.
And so, why don't you tell us a little bit? First, let's start off kind of a bigger picture. Tell us, they're actually not plugged
They're
in.
not
I don't
working.
think.
Okay.
So, tell us a little bit about the Unemployment Project and the
Right.
Grace team.
Right.
overall.
So the Grace team is a network of activists who mostly have been working on unemployment issues, and folks in Worcester may know the Worcester Unemployment Action Group, which is the
Sure.
local group in Worcester.
And Chris Horton is
Chris
one of
Horton
the coordinators of
leads
that.
up on, right. And we came together because
Is it a statewide network?
yeah, it's a statewide network, and we had come together at the time. The specific focus was the cut in the extension of the unemployment benefits at the federal level, and a lot of our frustration is that people on the ground know, and you know this from the work you do, that there's still lots of folks who are struggling who can't get decent jobs. The wages people are getting are less. They're often working, part-time jobs where they used to have a full-time job. And all of the story that keeps getting told is that, oh, well, things are better.
Right.
Things are better. And things are actually really terrible for people.
Yeah. I think one of the frustrations that I have too is that we get data in a little bit more detailed than what you might hear reported. It's like a 10-second soundbite on the radio, but okay, so last month 248,000 jobs were created.
Right.
And is a little bit better than expected, and things are looking good, right? And unemployment might have ticked down a little bit, and so okay. But then what they don't go into, and what I don't even get data on, is what those jobs were. All too often, what we're seeing now is they are part-time. There's no benefits attached. Some of them are like these, I guess, new economy jobs that are really just someone
That's
kind of
such a
clean.
terrible
You go and you
misnomer.
clean out a garage for someone for $25, and you're going to get counted in that statistic as working.
Yeah,
Even though
actually-
you don't really have a job. I mean, you're
Right.
the Uber driver that drives 2 or 3 times a week.
I actually asked Chris this because I always find it mind-boggling, but the way that we measure statistics in the U.S., unlike other countries, by the way, which means that ever comparing our unemployment rate to any other country's unemployment rate, you don't get realistic figures.
Right.
We have all these bizarre ways that we count things that don't even, go, oh, 240,000 jobs created, that's great. But as an employer, if I take a 40-hour-a-week job and I break it into 5 8-hour-a-week jobs, it counts as 5 jobs having
Right.
been created. And the average person is not thinking, oh, when we hear the term a job was created, we're thinking, oh, that's full-time.
We have this very 1950s view of when you hear when you hear, oh, so-and-so got hired for a job of full-time benefits, retirement,
Right, we
plan,
think it's the whole package.
this whole package, and that is certainly not so the case.
Right,
these
so the
days, more and
reason
more.
that we got involved was because we were looking at a lot of things that were really horrifying and that were not getting discussed, and all of these figures kind of paper over what's really going on for people.
Yeah.
So one of the...
And certainly there's a lot of people that have a rationale behind or an agenda attached to keeping the
Why
public
it gets
maybe in the
reported
dark
that way.
or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, well, we think the agenda should be the opposite because we have this weird idea that job creation should actually be about creating jobs. So one of the...
Yeah,
One
I'm
of
just
the-
trying to pull
yeah.
this up here.
One of the graphs that we found early on, and this is an updated version of it, shows someone smart lined up the beginning of every recession since 1949 and said what percentage of jobs were lost and how long did it take for them to bounce back. And so this graph actually starting at, is pretending each of those recessions kind of started in the same place for jobs. Where are we? And on this graph you can see we're this bottom line that's just devastatingly awful and looks like it's going to take forever to bounce back.
So it measures, if you're kind of imagining the chart, everyone starts at the left at 0,
Right.
and then each recession dips down however many jobs were lost.
Right.
And so how deep that trough is and how long it took for the jobs to go down
And to come
is
back.
the downslope. So
Right.
they each kind of have a different downslope.
Right.
Unfortunately, this last one is really probably the deepest.
It's way deep and it's
And then
horrifying. to
Yeah,
look
and
at.
then the upslope is how fast did it take to recover and how far did it get
Right.
in recovery?
And so this is a national picture, so, you know, that's kind of the
Yeah.
national picture. But then I, of course, because I've done a lot of my work as somebody who's run for governor, in Massachusetts, looking at the Massachusetts situation and trying to make sense of it. And trying to find the graph here, but one of the things is that we've been told recently, oh, Massachusetts is doing better on bouncing back on jobs than other folks. But the problem is we went into the market crash and what I would call a depression, not just a great recession. It's been a really bad recession, a
Yeah.
terrible recession, was that Massachusetts started out way behind the 8 ball. Going into this recession, if we had been at the level of other states, we'd have had 80,000 more folks working. And so we entered this recession at a real deficit in comparison to other states. And part of that picture, because we talk about, you and I were talking about part-time jobs, then there's the question of good paying versus bad paying jobs. One of the things that folks look at, and I don't know if you know how to hold this up, you have some system here.
Yeah, it's a very technical system I have here.
Yeah, I like this
We'll-
technical system you have. But this is a picture of manufacturing jobs in Massachusetts. And as we know, manufacturing, because it's been unionized for so long, is one of the well-paying sectors. And you can see that before we ever hit this recession, we were already way down on manufacturing jobs. And then the recession hits, or depression as I like to call it, hits and it just plummets. And so we were, again, in a mess before we got into this in terms of decent paying jobs, and then you can see how bad it gets afterwards. And that hasn't bounced back appreciably. One of the graphs that I don't have on me, but maybe we'll be able to add in later, is the Worcester Unemployment Action Group has made a commitment. They're actually out right now doing their press release, their press conference. But they looked at Massachusetts in terms of a different statistic, which is because our unemployment data measures who's supposedly looking for work, and it's this very arcane way that the Bureau of Labor Statistics does these household surveys where they do a certain number of interviews, and then they extrapolate from that based on the job numbers they have, how many folks are really working, what kind of jobs they are, whether people are still looking who are unemployed. And the thing that's been most dramatic is that the unemployment rate, as it looked like, oh, you know, more people are working, that's not what it's been measuring. It's been measuring the number of folks who gave up looking, because our statistic doesn't measure how many people are without jobs. It measures how many people our federal government think at the moment are actively looking for work. Mine is a whole bunch of categories that they decide not to count. And so it turned out that the unemployment drops that we've been seeing are actually measuring how many people have given up looking, not how many people have jobs. So that statistic's heartbreaking. And in Massachusetts, when you look at how many people have given up, it's continued to drop. The overall number of jobs that we are creating in Massachusetts dropped from the last rise in 2001, I guess, down to the supposedly good period right before the market crashed, and then down from there. So even though we're beginning to see a slight bounce back now, and as we said, we don't know if those are 8-hour-a-week jobs, it means we're really in a terrible place. Why does this matter? It matters because people think they're the only one. When you talk to people who aren't working, they're like, well, I know everybody else is getting a job, but I haven't found anything. No, actually, people aren't getting jobs. And another crazy statistic is it turns out the people who are getting jobs are 55 years or older. Even those part-time, probably without benefit jobs that are getting picked up aren't being picked up by people who are during their prime working years. The prime working years between, say, I think they measure between 20 and 54. We've seen no job uptick really in that population at all, and those are the people who are supposed to be working during their healthiest years and driving our economy.
Right.
So this is very serious, and
Yeah.
we believe that until people talk about what's really going on, we're not going to get folks on the ground working together to change the situation.
So the Team Grace team?
The Grace team.
The Grace team unemployment project is an effort to spread the word about what's happening.
What's really happening, and then engage people in solutions. So for instance, the biggest thing that we've been looking at, and the figure goes up and down a little bit, but this report that I've been sharing with you, Working to Recover the Commonwealth's Economy, looks at the number of, the amount of money that's been authorized for capital projects in the state. And it is, I think we're up over 16 billion again, that the governor has signed into law but not spent.
So the governor and legislator, they've all agreed that they could do these things, and
Right,
then it's
to
up
borrow
to the
the money
state
to
to
do
borrow
it.
the money, and
And-
then go ahead and put them out and to put the projects out on
Right,
the
and
street.
it's approaching 200,000
And that's over,
jobs again.
I think, what, a 12-year period, or the report goes, it started,
Yeah, the first of those projects were authorized probably about 12 years ago, but a lot of them came in right when Deval came on, and we did the huge Green Communities Act, which was $6 billion in capital projects that were approved, and then there was the expedited bridge repair money, which has actually been used, and actually in Worcester County used especially well. They figured out how to get it matched from local cities and towns, so they did great. But there's still money to rebuild our educational institutions, those buildings, and just this money for green jobs.
and I think one of the things in your report that you note is, this was a democratic process.
Right.
The
Thousands of
public,
groups work together.
people worked to get through the process, which isn't easy.
No. not at all.
And there's a lot of political capital spent to get these projects approved and ready to go,
And folks
and then
who
they languish
Folks who
somewhere.
like going on the web should go look at the fanfare when the Green Communities Act was signed. It was supposed to be this huge impact. If we put $6 billion into green infrastructure, not only is that huge amount of jobs, it starts moving our economy over to a green economy, which we know is where we need both for our environment, but it's also where the new jobs, where the new manufacturing jobs are likely to be. And the governor, after signing it all into law, then never drew down the money to.
Now, why
to
is
put
that?
people-
And I think there's some speculation in the report about
Yeah.
some reasons why.
He's been
maybe talk about-
asked, Deval Patrick's been asked a bunch, never went on record about it. But there's this attitude of, well, you shouldn't borrow money when you're in a bad economic time period, which of course is what private corporations do. They don't borrow when the economy's bad.
I was going to say that the rationale is usually that you want to borrow when there's very low interest rates, which we have.
Well,
and
no,
when,
this
and
is
when,
the way
and when labor
government should
costs are
think.
going to be as low as can be, because you have all these people that are. So you've got very hungry contractors that are willing to take the job for
Right.
probably a little less than they normally would.
Well, whatever
Or
reason why,
they're-
the point
they're
is
out
that
there,
it's,
you know, you're not-
that this is a fabulous time for a government to be borrowing money. You're essentially, I mean, I don't know if folks followed Senator Warren's big fight around the student loans, that when people have to borrow student loan money at such a high rate and then the interest rates are lower, you're basically having to pay back the money you borrowed plus extra interest beyond inflation. Well, this is actually the opposite situation. The state can borrow at essentially zero interest, where actually I think it's below inflation right now, and lock in a rate on that borrowing that once the economy heats back up and interest rates go back up, essentially you're
Saves
paying
all
back
that money.
less than you would normally pay back. So it's a fabulous time for government to borrow. It's exactly the time when you want to see a push. It's approaching 200,000 full-time, one-year equivalent jobs at prevailing
You
wage.
beat that.
we're
So if you
talking-
do the math and you look at what was authorized
Right.
and is out there,
Right.
and then you extrapolate, an average job, $75,000, like good job, an average
Well,
good
it's
job.
not 75,000,
Well,
but probably 56,000.
Okay, I forget the figure that
Right.
you used it, but so if
Yes,
you do
this
the
is
math.
prevailing wage, good construction job. And yes, you extrapolate from that and you say how much money how many jobs would you get? Now, we're not talking about these part-time jobs that are being counted as job creation. We're talking about good, solid jobs with benefits, etc. It's almost 200,000 full-time equivalent jobs. That's both the money the government would spend and the spin-off creation of the folks who have to manufacturing the materials that are used to build the road, etc.
Well, then you have that spin-off from all right, I have a job, and now on Friday night, I'm more likely to go out to eat. I've got more money in my pocket to go
The
buy
overflow
things at the
into our
store.
economy is huge. These are local jobs. The construction would be in-state, so we're spending state money on things that help rebuild our state and that rebuild our local economy, because the money's spent locally, and if the state was smart, they would require, for instance, in-state contractors, so that all the way down the food chain, you're seeing that
And then,
money
of course,
come in.
the other spin-off of this, or result of this is, I mean, you're not having them, the economists like to sometimes use these pure kind of models or pure examples. And so I heard this example once that, even if you hired those 200,000 people and said to 100,000 of them, dig a ditch, and then the other 100,000, fill it in, right? That's still economically,
Yeah,
right, the job creation.
you get the same.
But the
you get
beauty of
same-
this is, they're actually gonna be working on real-world projects that are gonna help create an infrastructure for our business community. Better roads helps our businesses.
Well, a lot of this is green jobs, so it could be used,
The energy
to
savings
start up
is
to-
gonna help our businesses too.
Right, and to do what they call deep energy retrofits of homes, where people over time will then pay very low utility costs. It helps our energy future in terms of no longer needing to be dependent on
Yeah.
coal and fracking and all of the dangerous
Family
stuff that
show
we're doing now.
Just watch the language.
Not my term. And so it's a huge opportunity in all the ways that you're saying,
Yeah.
and the impact. If we did it now when the economy's bad, you create a magnet for investment and future economic growth, because as a state then we really would be doing better.
So I know you're doing your best to get the word out there. And
Yeah.
how can folks get involved if they want to try to help you do that?
Well, go to the Grace Team Mass, all one word, .org website.
So great, GRACETEAMMASS?
Yeah, .org website, and the report is there. But more
Yeah, I know you're also
importantly,
involved with other events and stuff. How
well,
can-
the Worcester Unemployment Action Group, if you're local in Worcester, is very active and is always looking for people to get involved. And then we are going to be filing legislation coming, January and stuff. So there's a lot of pieces here, but
Yeah.
this is, I hope the folks who are listening, if you work with a union, you need your union to get on board with
Yeah.
this, because we've got to demand that the governor, new governor in this case, spend the money. It's a great investment opportunity. I mean, maybe
Can you speak?
maybe Baker
I want
will
to try
get
to.
investment. I don't know.
We're kind of running on time here, but I have to ask, what's the hesitancy or the resistance that you feel is out there?
The resistance is this idea that we shouldn't get into debt when the economy is bad. And unfortunately, we've had a government that's been run by business people who are used to this concept of economic contraction, you don't spend, instead of having their hat on that this is a government which gets to borrow at a much lower interest rate, and where you put your investment in now and
Gets
you
to that heart of
jumpstart everything.
the role of government versus
Yes,
business,
exactly.
which each has
We need
separate.
some folks who know how to think about government's role in job creation.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, and certainly, I do love reading some of the reports. It gets people thinking in a new way. But before you leave,
Okay.
we have a game for you to play as well. So
Okay.
we play. The prize is a beautiful Penta Communications Penta Marketing mug,
Okay.
donated by Penta. So we've got a little game. It's called Name That Ross. Grace Ross.
Oh,
Of course,
no.
we had to see if we can get. So we've picked out 4 famous Rosses. So
Besides me.
besides you, yes. So Diana Ross,
Yes.
Betsy Ross,
Yes.
Bob Ross, the painter,
Okay.
and Ross Perot.
Ross
So
Perot,
kinda-
I got the Ross Perot.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give to you. We've got 3 stories about their upbringing, and you have to tell us which one
Is who?
is who. So, but we're only 3, so there's a wild card in this, right? This is the.
I didn't get warned about this.
So yes. So okay.
This is raw.
This
news
is raw
right
audio
now.
right here. During this Ross's teenage years, they had aspirations of being a fashion designer, studying design, millinery, and pattern making skills while attending technical high school, and then on to a 4-year preparatory magnet school in downtown Detroit. Who is that Ross?
It's gonna be Diana Ross.
Yeah, which gave it away? The Detroit?
Detroit.
There we go. All right, so you are 1 for 1. Okay, this
Do I get
Ross,
quarter of a cup if I get one of them right?
this Ross finished schooling at a Quaker-run public school and was apprenticed by their father to become an upholsterer.
That has to be Betsy Ross.
Are you sure about that? Finally, maybe it's happy trees. We've got some happy trees. We're
I'm
painting
sticking
on
with it.
canvas.
You're trying to
Just-
tell me it's Bob Ross?
No, I'm not. I'm actually just trying to fool you up. It is Betsy Ross. You are 2 for 2. You are on fire. Okay, here we go. Third one.
Not usually.
So now you have a 50-50 chance because we're only using each one once.
Right.
So this Ross started out working as a carpenter with their father, then became a bartender before becoming famous.
Yeah, that has to be Ross Perot. No?
Or maybe,
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, correct! You have won yourself the mug.
That was really hard.
So
You made that
again-
really hard, Jeff.
So
I'm
again,
struggling here.
we have been talking with Grace Ross, former gubernatorial candidate here in Massachusetts, and the founder and co-leader of the Grace team, and now currently working on the unemployment project. And folks can get more information at graceteammass.org.
Yep.
Grace, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks.
We're now going to turn it back. We're now going to go to a segment that we have started with our Milford Career Center manager, and that is Jonathan Cortez. So this is called Cortez Corner. I'm getting some stage direction here.
Oh, sorry. It was recorded last month.
So this-
it was
okay.
a November segment because it was Veterans Month, so we talk about the services available.
So since Sean's off mic, I better relay this. So this was recorded last month in honor of Veterans Services Month. So we're going to go now to, I think we're going to go, we have an opening for the show, right?
Yep.
The challenger, Jonathan Cortez. Number 1, nice guy. Super physically fit. Runs, does like these mud runs, like knows how much you can bench, knows how many push-ups you can do.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Cortez. I'm getting a little older now, and it's getting a little tougher. And I actually started to participate in these mud runs. I run about a 9-minute mile. I'm not particularly a fan of running, just to run around. I play sports. I've always been involved in sport. But one of the things I just started up was yoga. I'm a competitive person by nature. I always have to have that goal. And I'm trying to do the work and take the steps and the training. I'm out there every day and I'm doing my work.
Judge Cortez told me he was a different man after this experience.
This was Cortez's first secret weapon, a bull mastiff. Cortez's other secret weapon was the horse.
Cortez's attorneys say the evidence overwhelmingly showed his innocence.
Cortez is really kind of an anomaly.
Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, weighing in at 185 pounds, 84 kilos, fighting out of Milford, Massachusetts, USA,
Jonathan Cortez.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Cortez.
All right, we're here now with a new segment, the Cortez Corner, and we're joined by the operations manager in Milford, the Milford Workforce Central, Jonathan Cortez. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Hey, Sean, doing very well, thank you.
And what'd you think about that intro that Jeff came up with?
You know what? It's actually very humbling.
I couldn't believe where he got some of that stuff.
Neither can I.
He did a good job putting that together.
He's fantastic. Quite the imagination on that young man.
So this month, November, is statewide Veterans Month.
Correct.
So one of the things that the Career Centers offer is priority service for veterans.
Yep,
and I was hoping this month on the Cortez Corner you could tell us a little bit about those priority services.
Absolutely. What priority service means is that any veteran that walks into a career center and claims veteran status is channeled through our services in a different path than, say, a normal customer. Every office has a veterans representative on staff, but our job is to take care of the veteran first and foremost. So they would work with a career counselor. If they're in need of additional veteran services, we put them as almost a group home, or a handoff, and we, depending on veterans rep who will elaborate on some other resources that are available to them as part of being a veteran, and the services that they've obviously provided us. And in turn, we try to give them top-notch pathway and access to programs, initiatives, trainings, and resources that are available to them from the Career Center, as well as third-party community-based organizations.
So it's one-stop shopping for them. They can come in, talk about employment at the Career Center, but then if they need some other types of services offered through the community, such as housing or something, your staff will put them in touch with somebody from them.
Yeah, we'll refer them. We'll work with them by name in terms of where to go, who to contact, what to do, what is some of the information with them. Because again, our veteran services are veterans reps are veterans themselves, and work with these other parties hand in hand.
Now, are these services also available for family members of veterans, such as spouses?
Yeah, I mean, the spouses of veterans are considered veteran, receive veteran status as well. And of course, I mean, in a general gist of everything else, we cater to customer service as a whole at the Career Center, but the veterans take, again, a priority of service. We treat them with all due respect, and we help them as best we can, and kind of move them up the line, if you will.
And one of the big events that we do yearly at the Career Center is the Veteran Job Fair, which just took place earlier this month.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, the Veterans Job Fair, which has been held at the Auburn-Webster Elks in Auburn, we've been doing it for quite a few years now. It has been a very successful endeavor. Again, it's Veterans Job Fair, but it's also open to the public. What we do is we try to get as many veterans as we can there. We bring in employers who are federal contractors and are seeking veterans to employ. But by the same token, it's open to the general public. Over the course of the last few years, we've averaged anywhere from 35 to 40 employers, which is a full house. It takes up as much space as we can in that facility. And we've had customer ranges in terms of job seekers going up to about 800 to 1,000 people at that. This year was actually very successful. The quality of the program was very, very high in terms of, once again, we had the 35 to 40 employers. We had some 300 job seekers come in. And really the essence of the report back and feedback that we got from both the employers there and the job seekers who were leaving and have reported back to their career counselors, the career centers that they work with, is that it was a very high quality endeavor, time to interview and meet with each other, and at the end of the day, some interviews and job offers being presented.
Oh, that's what you love to hear.
Absolutely.
Love to hear. And so these programs are ongoing throughout the entire year. It's not just for the month of November. This is something that the Career Center promotes all year round.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously, just because of Veterans Day in November, obviously we highlight November as Veterans Month. But yeah, these services are going on 365 days a year. As a matter of fact, there is a work program that we have. It's called the Federal Central Mass Veterans Service Coalition. I know that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But that's a coalition that's been in existence for about 15 years. It's comprised of 20 plus veteran service agencies, organizations such as Veterans Inc., the Worcester Outpatient Clinic, the Central Mass VSOs, which is veteran service officers that are assigned by town. And this organization has worked very well together. They come together on a quarterly basis, then they sit there and they talk about their resources, their programs, their initiatives, any new updates on what's going on, so that everyone can go home and then be able to filter that information up to the veterans that they serve on a daily basis. And the power of this coalition, and we play a vibrant role in that with Workforce Central. As a matter of fact, our veterans reps are on the board and are leaders in that coalition. There's a new program that's going to be starting up in about a month from now. And this is where, at the Worcester Outpatient Clinic, via a webcam, believe it or not, what's going to happen is a veteran will be able to come in, and it's a new service so that they, what they call is a pen. It's a compensation pension claim.
Okay.
And veterans will be able to sit there via a webcam and they'll actually be looking at two monitors. One is with the Veterans Benefits Administration representative in Boston, and the other one will actually be the form. So they'll be talking to the representative who will be describing to them the form that they're looking at on the other screen, how to fill it out, how to complete it, so that at the end of that session, that claim is filed. So nobody has to travel into Boston, nobody has to fill out forms on their own or what have you. And this is this is a brand new initiative. It's going to be coming online, and I said about a month or so from now. And it's a byproduct of work that the local coalition has put together to offer yet another unique service to the veterans of Central Mass in terms of them being able to make these claims, file these claims, eliminate errors and confusion and at the end of the day frustration when they're not able to do it properly by directly putting them in touch with the Boston office via the webcam. So using technology.
Wow, some really innovative stuff going on. It sounds like.
It is, and it's great, and it's a service to the veterans that we got to take care of them just like they're taking care of us.
Well, again, we're talking to Jonathan Cortez, the operations manager at the Milford Workforce Central Career Center. And Jonathan, for our veteran listeners at home who are interested in learning more about what the Career Center has to offer for them, would they just contact the main line at the Career Center, or is there a certain staff member that they're directed to?
No, they can contact the direct line. Again, priority of service means that when they come in, anyone can see them right away. And that's what we mean by priority of service. They don't have to wait for a veterans rep. The veterans rep is there and is accessible to them. But by the same token, when they come in, they move to the end of the line, and whoever's readily available to serve them will work with them immediately. It could be a career counselor, it could be a job specialist, it could be a manager. As long as they come in, they can call any of the local career centers, and for Workforce Central, obviously we're talking about Milford, Southbridge, and Worcester, but there are 33 career centers in the state of Massachusetts, whichever one they want to visit. Could walk right on in if they'd like, and just claim that they're a veteran, and they will go follow the process and get seen immediately, and again they'll start to discuss and build a rapport with whomever they're meeting with in terms of what services are available, put together a career action plan, and provide them with the information that they seek.
Great. Well, Jonathan, the Cortez Corner probably isn't over until we hear the bell.
There it is.
So thanks again, Jonathan, for joining us, taking some time out. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and find out what's going on at the career centers. So thanks, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Oh, you as well. I remember.
I like that. You got to add in the catchphrase at the end.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks, Jonathan.
All right, Sean. Good luck.
Well, that was very well done, Sean.
Oh, thanks,
You
Jeff.
sound like you had a good time with him.
Oh, it's always a good time.
And
with
of course,
Jeff.
that was taped last month, so the reference to.
Yep. We had such a jam-packed show last month that we had to save it for this month.
I love the boxing theme. He's always because he's fighting for the working guy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and an awesome job on the intro, Jeff.
So beyond that, I know there's some other new programs that the Career Center's been starting up, and I think you also had a chance to talk to Peter Dunn over there about.
You'll remember, listeners and viewers will probably remember, it was either last month or 2 months ago, Peter came on the show to talk about the launch of a new program, the Retail Business Enhancement Program. And that program has since ended, and I had a chance to catch up with Peter to talk about the success of the program and just get a follow-up interview. So here's Peter Dunn from the City of Worcester's Economic Development Department.
All right, I'm here now with Peter Dunn, the Business Programs Manager at the City of Worcester's Economic Development Department. Peter, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Peter, no stranger to the show. Been on a couple times. In fact, just a couple months ago, you were on talking about the Retail Business Enhancement Program launch.
Yes.
And can you remind us a little bit about what that program is?
Sure. It was a workshop series for small business owners in the city on a variety of topics. There were 7 sessions held on Monday evenings at the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Yep.
And we had about 25 different business owners attend either one or more of the workshops.
And that program was sponsored by the city, the chamber, and the Worcester Business Resource Alliance?
That's correct.
businesses? Were they small businesses, medium-sized businesses?
Definitely small businesses. A lot of them have less than 10 employees, and many of them occupy a retail storefront in the city. So we had quite a few restaurant owners and then some other types of retail shops as well.
And now this wasn't the first time you guys have done this program, correct?
Right, we did it in last year in 2013 as well.
And were there any changes, any new workshops that were added to the program, or was this pretty much the same 7 workshops?
We definitely changed the topics a little bit, tried to offer something a little different so that if somebody wanted to do it again, it would be a little bit different for them. And then we also had different facilitators for those workshops, so different industry experts from around the city.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And did you have anybody who took both programs?
Yes, we did. Just one person, actually.
Awesome. And so how did your numbers compare to last year? 25 this year. Do you remember how many you had last year?
I think last year we had over 30 business owners attend one or more, but this year we were pretty close to the same amount of businesses graduating, which was businesses who attended at least 5 of the 7.
And how much did this cost businesses?
It was all free of charge.
Oh, you can't beat that, huh?
Right, exactly.
And so second annual, is there any plans in the works for to do one next year, a third annual?
We're starting the planning process right now. We're probably going to make some changes to the program, maybe widen the target audience so that it's not just retail business owners, but also other types of service-based or other types of businesses in the city as well.
And will it follow the same format, like a 7-week program?
We're thinking about maybe cutting it down to 5 just to kind of lessen the burden of the commitment for the business owners, but we're definitely looking to do a series, not just one.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you today, Peter. I thank you for taking some time to join us again. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Absolutely, not a problem.
And happy holidays and Happy New Year to you.
You too, thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Working Lunch Special Holiday Edition here, December 2014. We're going to turn now. We're going to do another little break and then come back and wrap up. We have a special feature with Downtown with Ethan Brown coming up. Okay, you're back here at the Working Lunch. Sean, some great work with the interviews there.
Oh, thanks.
That's pretty exciting. The program that Peter had talked about, very well received from what I could see in the business community.
Yep. And as you heard, plans to do another one next year.
Also very well received in the business community. You see how I segued?
Great
there?
segue.
Ethan Brown,
Yep.
our man downtown.
Our man on the street.
Our man on the street. So we have a segment called Downtown with Ethan Brown.
Yep.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown.
Nope. Mr. Pop.
I don't know why you don't take me downtown, like you got anywhere better to be.
Will I see you tonight on a downtown train?
Nope.
And now it's time for another edition of Downtown with Ethan Brown.
Hey, thank you and welcome to Downtown with Ethan Brown. I'm your host on the scene, Ethan Brown. I'm actually here at Worcester. Is it Worcester? Worcester Pizza. I got to work on that. Let me know, okay? I'm here with Brunilda, and she's the owner and operator along with her husband of Worcester Pizza. So I just wanted to first say thank you for taking the time to meet with us.
Sure. Thank you for coming here.
So Brunilda, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, we moved in America in about 2002, around 2002, and we opened the business in 2005. It was February, actually. We've been 10 years here, almost 10 years in February. I loved the Worcester pizza. I thought it was nice, and downtown Worcester, it was great. So we decided to open, the business was open, we decided to continue the ownership.
So it sounds like this was a labor of love, or this is your baby.
Yes, it is. It was and it is. Like I said, it was before, but me and my husband made it stronger. We accumulated more customers. We made it more known. Yes, it is labor and love.
And 10 years is a long time, and you've done a really, really great job with everything. Why are you still here? Why are you still in Worcester?
So our business is based on the businesses around. So other businesses are based on us. They come and get their food. So I think it's the loyal customers that we get every day. People who work around the area, not just people who work, but even the residential around here, the buildings, the students. We have a big amount of loyal customers that keeps us working and not moving from Worcester. Loyal customers are very, very important for an establishment.
I agree. And we are loyal customers. So if I want to tell people to go ahead and go to Worcester Pizza, where would I send them? What are your hours?
We open from 11 to 10 every night for delivery and pickup and dining in.
407 Main Street?
We are 407. We are 407 Main Street.
407 Main Street. Come down for lunch. Yes, in Worcester. Do not forget that, please. This whole segment will not work if you assume it's somewhere else. All right? Renilda, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Downtown.
That's going to get you where you need to be. Stay with it.
Okay, you know that I love listening to Ethan's Brown segment.
He's so funny.
He's got a
nice way about him.
He's got a nice way about him. We've got a few minutes here, and I was doing some show prep and came across this this story about. It was in U.S. News online. It's on the internet. It's on
World
the
Wide
internet.
Web?
It's on that World Wide Web. It's called 5 Interview Confidence Killers and How to Recover.
Oof. The interview is always the tough part. You know, that's a skill, I think.
Skill in itself. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple scenarios, and you tell me what you think you do to recover from it. Okay?
I might have gone through some of these scenarios.
All right. All right. You show up late for the interview. What do you do?
That's a tough one. I mean, do you have a valid excuse for being late? Are you stuck in traffic?
Yeah, I'd say traffic. Yeah.
You know, I think you just have to apologize for being late, but I think before that you really have to plan ahead and give yourself time. I always say try and give yourself an hour's worth of time and just plan to have breakfast in the area of wherever the interview is. But how would you recover?
Well,
Can you send a thank
it's
you
too
note?
late for that.
Can you send a note that, a follow-up note and just mention in it again that you're sorry?
Yeah, basically that's what it says. You pretty much nailed that one. You don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to very briefly explain what had happened, that you're sorry, that you understand the value of their time and the opportunity that you're being given, and then pivot from there, move on. All right. What if you in the waiting area, you're waiting to go in? Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
You spill coffee.
On yourself or in the?
Well, all over the place. Yeah, a little bit on you, a little bit on the carpet, a little bit on the.
I think that just shows that you're a human, and I think you just have to go with it and just make it into a joke is I think what I would do, but also apologize.
Did you read this? Yeah, you nailed it again. Ding, ding, ding.
Well.
That's 2 for 2. Yeah, you want to be able. You know what? Things happen. You might be a little anxious, obviously, about or nervous about going into the interview. They probably understand that. What they're looking for, obviously, is to know who you are and how you fit in the organization.
Sure.
So when something goes wrong like that, you got to have ability to laugh about it and laugh about yourself and show them that you are a real person, that you can maintain some dignity after something. Same thing like if you trip or something.
Sure, and another strategy too, if you'll be in the waiting room, a lot of times they'll have magazines, so you can take the magazine and open it up and just place it on the floor over the coffee stand. That's another good strategy.
That would be a pretty good one. Just act like it never happened.
Yeah,
what I like to do is when the receptionist or when the person comes out to get you.
What'd you do?
No, when the person comes out, I just kind of quietly. You can't really see it on the radio, but I just kind of like.
Right.
Put my hand up, and then behind it, I just point at the other guy like I'm giving a
Sure.
right? Like that guy. Of course, I'm the one with the coffee all over my pants.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been drinking coffee in my lap. That's what I always say.
Or always go with water.
Well, yeah,
no
again.
skins.
Yeah. So, all right. You dress up. You show up underdressed. So you wore khakis and dress shirt and tie. You thought you kind of nailed what they were looking for, but you show up and it's obvious that you're underdressed.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I guess just own it. You know, just say I was trying to meet the culture here, and maybe I went too.
Well, would you bring it up? I mean, what, you know, so you're, you know, it's obvious to you maybe.
Yep.
Does that mean it's obvious to?
I think that'd be a good idea to bring it up and maybe just have a discussion with whoever you're interviewing with.
So how would that go? Like, what would you kind of say?
You know, I noticed that the environment here is a little bit more
Dressy.
business attire, dressy than I had dressed up. You know, maybe can you go over some of the dress code policies?
Okay,
Not sure,
not bad.
I'm
No,
sure.
no,
What's the
I think,
recommendation?
well, acknowledging it is what's recommended, and they say, you know, that you would genuinely say, geez, I'm sorry, my lines must have got crossed. I was under the understanding that this was a more casual work environment, but I
Sure.
can see it's not, and I'm a bit embarrassed by that, but I understand and would be able to you know, dress up for the expectation, to meet the expectation, so.
Sure. And you know, a good thing to mention too is
I like to wear just shorts.
business shorts.
Yeah.
Bermuda.
And I'd be like, if you're not interested in my ideas and who I am as a person, as opposed to what I'm wearing, then maybe this isn't the right fit for me. And I'm like, wow, that guy's really on the ball.
Trash.
What?
Throw it in the trash.
From behind the camera, just
President in
throwing
the
the
trash.
fingers out here. The big hammer comes out.
Jessica's not
big
hiding.
hook. The big hook comes out of the wall.
Well, we should mention that Workforce Central, 3 locations, Worcester, Southbridge, and Milford, offer interview prep courses so that you can make sure that you don't make these mistakes. And I think a lot of what you need to do is preparation. So, you know, a lot of times you can scout out the business and figure out what their business culture is and what if it's a suit and tie kind of place, if it's a pantsuit kind of place.
And all those things. And
Yeah.
like you said, maybe drink some water. Make sure you get directions. Go early.
Yeah.
Well, it's that time. We have finished another hour. Another hour has gone by here in the Working Lunch. We do wish to thank Troy Tyree for filling in as our producer today. Troy, we have a nice little gift mug. We got a spare one here just for you, sir.
You
Thank
didn't even have to play the game. You
Didn't
just
even
had
have
to
to.
put
We're
up
not going
with
to make
us
you
for
jump
an
through the
hour.
hoops. And we do want to wish also our regular producer, Bob Zukowski, Dr. Bob Zukowski, a very happy holidays. He's hopefully listening in at home.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks again.
Have a very happy holiday season.
And Happy New Year.